Thanks for joining us on Coast to Coast Pest Talk.
Give it as an actual catchphrase.
No, I like
Okay, can I read you this thing? It's not very long, but this
Yeah,
is a
what is
post. This is a post of somebody that I follow, and this is kind of what started me out on the keeping momentum up. So maybe we could discuss. So he says, this is one of the more common ditches I see young men and their families fall into financially. When you start out, time and money are both in short supply. You've got debts, your work is paying okay, maybe you have some kids, whatever. It's tiring, things are tight. And then you finally get a break. There's some margin, you catch some momentum, things suddenly feel a lot easier. And here's the trap. A lot of folks, when this finally happens to their work or their business or whatever, they start to relax. They lift their foot off the pedal. He says this isn't a problem in the short term. Catching your breath is good for you and your family, etc. But all too often, they take too long of a breather. They get distracted by something else, and they miss that opportunity to permanently get ahead of the curb. The momentum dissipates and the window closes. So, and he goes on to kind of exhort guys to take advantage of that, window. So, I don't know if you have thoughts on that, but that was the type of thing that I was thinking about in terms of, everything's really hard, and so you just have to grind, and then it gets a little bit easier. And then you take your foot off the gas and you lose all the momentum.
Okay. What's your thought? What's your gut thought on that? Are you in the camp of I got to keep grinding? If I stop, I might not get momentum again. Or what do you think first?
I see myself kind of like what he describes, where I have a tendency to get a moderate level of I'll work really hard to get myself out of a ditch,
Okay.
and then once things get easier, whether it's sales are good this month, finally, that's great, because our sales fluctuate a little more right now because we're not fully commercial.
Yeah, sure.
And then it's okay, now I'll take my foot off the gas. And a lot of times what I find is that I end up losing a lot of that momentum, and then end up having to restart. It's not totally starting over from scratch because the business still continues and it grows and stuff. But yeah, so that's me.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I've perceived over the years. I think that it is more natural to allow there to be plateaus and stopping points, and even points where your business backslides just a little bit. You take a breath. You're like, oh my God, we're pushing this cart up a hill, and you get to the top of the hill and you're like, yeah. Or you have a slow, it's the season slows down at the end of the season. You were working your butt off to get to the end of the season. I think that it's more natural to have those plateaus and those breathers, and not just to catch your breath, like you're saying, but I think that it's in those times that then you're able to engage different thought mechanisms and come up with different ideas. And then you start off from there and move up the next hill. As I've gone along, I keep seeing the business growth like you're traveling through a mountain range, and you start out in the foothills and you can't see the mountain range. You just see that hill in front of you. You're like, okay, we're going to go to the top of this hill. And you get to the top of the hill. When you get to the top of that hill, you look and there's a bigger hill that's right behind it. And you go, oh my God, there's another hill here. Well, we got to go to that one. So you gear up and you get all your stuff and you get to the top of the hill. Then there's a mountain behind that one. And every time, if you were to just see the mountain, you would never climb it. You would go, it's too much.
Yeah.
So I think just accept that we're not machines. Our bodies, our minds, they work on these cycles, and you go through these seasons of, you can push for a season, but then you have to pause, you have to regroup, and you have to resupply, and then you take the next hill. And that's the fun. That's the whole point, is seeing how many hills you can climb. You don't have to climb them in a single bound. You probably can't. You probably shouldn't. You're going to get to the top, and half your team's going to be dead because you didn't supply people correctly. To belabor the metaphor as long as possible. But that's really what I've seen. And just, it's okay. You can tell people, hey, we didn't grow a ton this year because we were working on this other aspect. We had to get these other things straight. I think the slow and steady, I think, really is the better way. I think unless you have a fast exit that you're working on, if it's a long-term business, I think you have to have those. I think you have to have those times. So I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I think we had talked before, our society puts a lot of pressure on you as a business owner, that the only right thing to do is to grow that business as fast as you possibly can and make as much possible money as you can make off of it. But is that the best thing?
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I love that analogy of climbing hills. That's really helpful. And the thing I think about on a personal note is, trying to grow the business in a way that doesn't destroy my family, right? Like that's a huge thing for me. Totally. And so there's absolutely those seasons where things ebb and flow. Like we just had a baby in February. So it was like February was gone. March was gone. Yeah. Like, April, I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get back into stuff. So yeah, I totally see that. My main thing that I see in myself, at least, is I think like I'm not one to go and work 100-hour weeks and just burn myself out. Sure. It's not my natural inclination. And I tend to be fairly inconsistent. So like keeping my motivation and creative energy high is like a must, or I get depressed and I get, and really bad productivity. So I think what I'm trying to figure out is when things get good and, or I reach that hill, making sure that I have good parameters in place to take a breather, but that I'm not completely, again, losing. I'm not like throwing all my equipment away back down the hill. Right.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. And that's a good point. And I think understanding your working style is important. Like, are you a slow, steady grinder that just wants a really steady pace and you can work consistently at a slow, moderate, just constantly chipping away? Are you a sprinter that you'll run and then boom, you get to there and then you got to rest and you got to recharge? Yeah. Like you can have different working styles, and understanding yours is probably important to how you can grow that.
Yes.
But yeah, as long as you're okay with where you are, if you got to the top, and here's the thing that makes me, I don't know if it makes me sad, but I know that there's a hill that I'm not going to be able to get over. Either I'm going to be too old or it's going to be too difficult. I'm not going to have the skill set. There's going to be some point that I go, I can't take that hill. That's one too far. That's for somebody else now. And it makes you a little sad. I haven't found that hill yet, but I know it's out there. It's out there for every one of us. And I think that's really the adventure with all this, is that's what we're kind of looking for. And it's out there. You don't have to run up to it. Be like, oh, there's Mount Everest. Yep, I can't get up it. Okay, I guess I'll do something else now. like go through the foothills, go through the small mountains, like see how far you can go. I think that's what keeps me going.
And when we find the hill that we can't get over, at least we'll die halfway up it.
There you go. You'll die on the side of the mountain. Well, honestly, like maybe that's where it comes up to, like, do you hand off the baton to the next generation, to someone else, to employee ownership, to whatever? Be like, hey, okay, guys, I got you ready. This is your hill to take now. And to them, it's going to seem like a foothill. Going to see, things that are insurmountable to us, other people will be able to surpass, and that's all okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That multi-generational vision, man, that's so huge, I think.
You like that one for sure.
Oh, I love it.
You do. Oh my gosh. Okay. Awesome.